Happy Friday, everybody. It's, I think, the Friday before Thanksgiving. Maybe I'm a little off. I'm Gaye Ann Bruno, your host, and you're watching Between the Sheets here on the United Broadcasting Network. We're on the first and third Friday of every month, except next month I'm only doing one show. It'll be the first Friday, December 2nd. Then we'll have a lovely holiday hiatus, and we'll be back in January 6th. And then hopefully, depending on my schedule, we'll just be here. The number 323-524-2599. Please call in. Follow me on Instagram, QTE Brat, and YouTube, Between the Shoots with Gaye Ann Bruno. Let's see. First of all, it's cold here in LA. I just want you to know. I'm sorry I'm not dressed up or anything. I came right from, not that you people give a crap, but I feel so weird. But I have roots, and I'm glad I have roots because I have Canadian people in the house. So, viva la patria. But we are going to be our topic today is going to be healthcare. And other things, because we're just this great roller coaster ride. But we only have one other regular co-host here with me, and I'm going to introduce her, and it's Ronnie Loaiza.
Hey everybody, good to be. I'm rubbing my hands. We're so spoiled. Oh, it's cold. It's a whole 70 degrees.
It's freezing. The heat's on.
It's cold. Yeah, I know.
Heat's on. Everybody else sends their love. And so, I've been talking about this person a lot. I don't usually use her name. And sometimes, I told her she's just a regular co-host here. She just doesn't know she is. And, but she is someone who I've known for a little while here. She has been, through my crazy upheavals in life and been my rock and, one of my two closest bookend of friends. And anyway, I can't speak any more praises about her. She is a pain in the ass, as am I. But we waddle through it. And I'd like to introduce the famous Roxane Harris from WeHo Wags. You could say hi, Rox.
Hey.
I've been dying for her to get on the show. So now, because her niece is on the show, I've twisted her arm. So she's here supporting her lovely niece, who is my wonderful guest here today. She has a plethora of experience. She is one of the smartest people. She's absolutely stunning, by the way. But you know what? She's really smart. And she is a self-made entrepreneur, a CEO of the AmbuServe companies. Well, companies, it's one company, but I will like to introduce her. And because I know nothing about this, I'm going to have Melissa Harris explain sort of how she came to be in this world and how you became the entrepreneur and CEO of such a huge, amazing, and well-respected company in the area. So everyone, let's welcome Melissa Harris to Between the Sheets.
Hi.
Okay, sit up closer.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. When I was just in my 20s, it was my boyfriend's idea. He was working at a wheelchair company to start an ambulance company. And previously, I'd always worked in the family business. And so I went and asked my grandmother to borrow money, and she trusted me because I was getting good grades, and it always worked for her. And we started an ambulance company. I had 2 ambulances, and 22 years later, I've acquired 2 additional ambulance companies, and I absolutely love what I do, and I'm really passionate about my work, and I love being able to mentor the young people and, creating new jobs for them and new experiences into healthcare.
That was very good and succinct. I like it. So, but seriously, what did you do before? You went to college, right?
Yes.
Graduated probably top of your class, I'm sure. And then you were working your whole life for your dad because he had a successful business, correct?
Yes.
And is that where you sort of understood entrepreneurship and finances and how that part works, or is that something that you developed later on in owning and experimenting in your own business?
I think it was pretty much organic. I was raised by my father from age 2, and his mother, which is my grandmother, helped me. And from when I could remember, I was always, helping out. Like I had been working since I was 10 years old. I was helping my grandmother do payroll when I was 13. I already prepared taxes by the time I was 18.
Well, no wonder she trusted you.
Well, yeah, you're a numbers girl then.
And
She
it was,
is.
they had a type of business. It was a bike and skate rental business.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't
But
understand.
can I just interrupt? If I know correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I was being prepped from her, but from that your father was one of the first people to sort of have that business
Yes.
in different hotels in the Southern California area, correct? Or was it at the hotels?
He was actually the first concessionaire on Venice Beach.
Perfect, yeah. I knew I got something.
What a
Yeah,
Yes.
we had the
And-
first 10-year contract with the city of Santa Monica.
Wow.
And this was before Venice Beach was even Venice Beach. I mean, we were out of a little hut, and we just accumulated, bicycles and skates, and we just worked it. And yeah,
Right
for a
before
long,
we,
long
we
time.
went on, I asked you if you were from LA, and she's a native and Angelina. So yeah, you really are one of the founders of that kind of business and our culture when you think about it.
Yeah.
And that's fabulous.
Yeah.
Before the segues and everything else.
very
I
proud.
hate those segues. I hate them. I hate
Very
them.
proud of my niece. Very, very proud.
So you were doing taxes at 13.
Yes, and so I think sometimes you don't realize the lessons you have as a child until you're much older. And in my father's business, I paid all of the bills, and I learned the bookkeeping from my grandma. And his business was unique in that 4 months out of the year it was really busy, but you had the business year round. So you had to at a very early age. I had to learn what to do when you had a lot of money and how to make it last the entire year. And so reflecting back, was the very beginning of where I learned to balance the books and to budget and to manage employees and customer service. Was
Wow.
working on the beach.
Did
How
you have
did
any
you-
fun?
Yeah. Well, how did people take you? You were young, but they were older than you. So how did they take that agency and authority from you? I suppose.
Well, I was the boss's daughter. I mean, what were they going to say? And I was really thin and worked in a bikini, so I don't think they
Yeah.
did anything.
I
made
worked
sure-
for them too at the beach in bikinis. So.
I don't think anybody had a
See,
problem.
that's success of life. Wear a bikini.
Right.
Yeah. But I have to say, it was my mom, her grandma, my mom, is the one who taught us all about bookkeeping. I mean, hand before the computers, and everything was by hand. And she had that down to a science.
But you know what? I agree. I agree. I know that happened. But my mother was an accountant bookkeeper, and I just don't do numbers. I still can't. So it's something that I think you either like it or excel in it, which you do, and obviously you do. But I still count on my fingers. She laughs at me. It's true. I said, if it gets too complicated, I grab out the calculator. And when it's really too complicated, I just call her and go, what help me? But it really is something, it's like you've got, I'm trying to think, you have the personality. I won't even say the looks, because that's kind of, I don't want to, I want to downplay it because you're smart. You've got the looks, you've got the brains, you've got the mathematic thing, which in my book, 100 stars. You've got the social profile, and and I don't even know you. I mean, I've heard about you. We've talked a couple of times on the phone, but I mean, I mean, you must be so proud to have accomplished and to be in a position. And when Ronnie came in, she bowed to you, and I agree. I bow to you because for someone, and you're not old, okay? If you're in your prime, you have accomplished so much that I actually applaud you. And I know Ronnie, curtsied to you too. But it's really hard. How is it like forget about the bikinis. Now you're out of the bikinis, and now you're the CEO of this company. How easy is it for a woman to be sitting in that position when I still think, and I could be wrong, the healthcare field is still male dominated?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that I am the only woman owner that I know, ambulance owner in the industry. And even in healthcare, in the hospitals with CEOs, there's very few women. It was definitely challenging. I think when I started AmbuServe, I was 23 years old, so I looked like a child. When I would go into hospitals to try to get contracts, I used to have to wear like big, oversized, CSI
And the suits, yeah, with
so
No
someone
bikinis.
could take me seriously, and a ton of makeup, and had to hire, a marketer that was older because, no one's going to take a kid seriously. But I think as I got older and more comfortable in my skin, I really, began to blossom, and I think it's easier when you're a woman, or at least for me. I'm extremely competitive, and so I like that. I want to be able to do anything that anyone else can do and do it better.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share a little bit about your accomplishments now? I know you have some contracts with hospital. This is not easy for a woman because we're talking about women, a woman in a predominantly male field. I mean, I know when I did car sales, back in 1983, I was the only woman, on the lot selling cars.
Real quick, didn't you say your boyfriend and you started this at the time?
Yeah, so he was my boyfriend at the time, and he was working at as a dispatcher at a wheelchair company, and so he had met a whole bunch of doctors, and they were stating, we have these patients that need to go to dialysis, but they're bedbound. So he's like, I think you should open up an ambulance. So that's how.
Oh, but he wasn't your
started.
partner in the business.
No.
Ah,
I
okay.
mean, he helped. I mean, he worked for me.
Yay.
Right. He was my boyfriend.
It's the way it's supposed to be. But getting back to what Roxane was saying is, you have this very established company. I'm not going to say how old you are. I mean, you can, but
Okay.
but I mean, I don't even know how old you are. But I'm trying to because then I would have
I'm
to.
46.
Okay, so that's 23. So you've had the company for 23 years.
Yes.
Yes,
You know numbers.
yes, yes, I did. So for 23 years, so it wasn't that easy in the beginning.
No.
So now, full circle, and we're going to go backwards, but in addressing Roxane's question is now, because you're in that seat of power, okay, and you are well connected, and you've got 23 years behind your belt, and I'm sure anybody respects you for what you have built this company. So by having this, what else have you done, or what else are you doing? Contracts. Kind of explain what you do, because it's not like you're sitting at this desk going ambulance there, ambulance there, ambulance there. It's a whole big thing that you have to put together. So can you just explain the outer workings of sort of what you do, what your company does?
Sure. So I do primarily inter-facility transportation. So I have contracts with hospitals, and I have contracts with insurance companies. So I don't do any private pay. I also do standbys, like at the Rose Bowl, and basically if I do some 911, but I'm not the primary 911 provider. But what happens with interfacility, and this really happened with the Affordable Health Care Act when people had to go into managed care networks before hospitals were contracted with any insurance. So
can I interrupt?
Yeah.
So before the contract, is that something new that the hospitals would enter into contracts with insurance companies? Before, could anybody just go to a hospital?
Well, before you didn't have as much managed care as you have now. That was from the Affordable Health Care Act. So what happens now within the 911 system, if you have emergency, you go to the closest appropriate receiving hospital. So once you get to that hospital has to stabilize you, but then they can't treat you if your insurance is not contracted with
So
them.
for example,
So I do hospital to hospital.
okay.
So I'm doing inter-facility transportation, and then also I do when patients are being discharged and they have to go to a skilled nursing facility or a long-term acute care facility. And then I do other community service stuff. For example,
share
we
some of
do.
that.
We were just at Mosquito Fire on a federal deployment for over a month, where we had 2 ambulances there, and we had to fly our guys back and forth.
Wow.
And that was really fun for them because it was, under a federal deployment, it's a different type of experience, and they were there to treat the firefighters.
That's great.
So they really enjoyed that. So I love to be able to give that to my employees. And then we also do strike teams go every week for 96-hour deployments to Bakersfield. So I assist with the 911 there because they have very low staffing. And so LA County has put together a strike team, and so I go out there with other providers, not myself. My employees go, and they think it's great. They love it. They get to practice beyond the scope that they would normally practice in LA County. And then I also assist my partners in 911, and I provide backup 911 for them regularly. And
for the most part, right now, where you are in your company and your business, for the most part, do people go to you for help and they call you, they contact you because they have you with your reputation and you're known? Or do you go out and still market yourself and you go after these opportunities? Like, what is it more of? You seeing these opportunities and going after them, or them contacting you?
Now in my age, I usually get endorsed. I usually get recommended. I don't really use much marketing. Most of the accounts are my accounts that I've had for
Even with
years.
the federal contracts and all that?
Most of all the accounts I've had for years. Like UCLA, for example, was my very first hospital. It was my baby, and I got it in my early 20s, and I've maintained it, ever since. I'm very personable, and I'm really close with CEOs and directors of case management. So I usually just get recommended. But in my early 20s, I remember begging down doors for work. I do recall those days, and happy I'm not there anymore.
But you're on. I mean, but so besides the CEO, you're on boards of other places, right? You sit on boards, and explain a little bit about what that part does.
I'm a board of director for the California Ambulance Association. So we educate all California ambulance providers on things having to do with human resources, legalities, different types of insurance issues you can have, ambulance compliance, Medicare regulations. I mean, just about everything. And I also co-chair the Payers Committee. So we are the intermediate between the state and the federal government and the ambulance providers. So we help educate all of the California ambulance providers on any new laws that are coming up. We review everything with lobbyists to make sure that, just to make sure that everything is copacetic, for the industry. So I really enjoy doing that. This would be my second year on the board. Nice. And we also started I'm on a Medi-Cal task force. So in CAA, so we started a coalition with the California Ambulance Association, some local associations from San Diego, Los Angeles, Orange County, and then labor union partners. And we have been lobbying to try to get an increase in Medi-Cal rates.
Great.
So that's what we're...
Can I make this a little personal for the layman? I'm going to make
vodka, please.
Yeah, there you go. It's really personal and layman's now. Because I totally admire and I advocate for women like you mentoring other women and being role models and being on those boards where we need representation, not only for your knowledge but also as a woman. We're being biased there. But let's take it to people who are going, okay, they have nothing to do with what you do. They're just a person, and an ambulance gets called, and oh my God, a little nip from a dog and I have to pay $400, or my insurance doesn't cover this ambulance, or I'd rather not call the ambulance because it costs too much and my insurance won't cover all this. Now, in what capacity do you work with legislation and the insurance companies to help the normal, typical middle class person who is afraid to call for an ambulance because they can't afford it?
Well, usually, in my, I guess I do some 911, but usually you contract with insurance companies, so it's usually not the patient's liability. The insurance company pays, and the patient, depending on their type of plan, can have a copay or deductible.
I know, but a lot of people complain that they can't even cover the copay.
But that's with the insurance company, not with the ambulance company.
Right, so the ambulance companies have no say, or maybe on the boards that you're on have no influence.
Well, every county or city has regulated rates that are, that there's a board. So like there's LA Department of Transportation and LA City, there's LA County, there's Orange County. They mandate those public rates. And then the ambulance companies contract with insurance companies. So insurance companies have ambulance companies in network. But your copay and deductibles, I really don't have anything to do with that or advocate for that, because that's really depends on what type of policy the patient has.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
This is a personal opinion, because I know you don't do this. Why is it so difficult for people to get stuff when they're on Medicare, because they're above? Why do you think? This is an opinion because it's not your thing. And why is everything given to Medi-Cal and to Medi-Cal people? Because, for example, you know, my mother was end-stage renal disease dialysis, and she could not qualify for that medical transport, that Medi-Cal. And so, you know, for Medicare. So Medicare's like, no. So why isn't it just like, why is it Medi-Cal and Medicare, even though my mother was only probably, let's just say $300 over what the Medi-Cal limit was?
So just to be clear.
Yeah.
So Medicare is something you get when you're, it's a benefit you get when you're retired that you pay taxes into, right? So Medi-Cal is for low income and is paid by the state, although there is some federal and state matching to pay for that. So what you're saying is that the benefits of Medi-Cal for state is greater than what for Medicare. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I would agree with that.
I agree too.
I don't know why it's that way. I know in the ambulance industry, Medi-Cal the state has not increased our rates since 1999. So I think a lot of what's happening where someone could have a high copay, what you're saying, like in order for me to hit a straight line, I have to negotiate and charge commercial insurances very much for my services to offset. I could take an Uber and it will be more expensive than what the government pays, California pays for an ambulance. So maybe they're able to give these enriched benefits because they're forcing providers to contract with them below their cost.
I mean, I have an issue with Medi-Cal anyway.
Okay.
Not Medi-Cal, but I don't think in this country, because I know it's called something else on the East Coast, but it's
Medicaid.
Medicaid, thank you. I think this country is really screwed, is that I think we tend to not this is going to sound so bad, but I don't care. But people have Medi-Cal that shouldn't have Medi-Cal because they know how to work the system, which is really upsetting, and there's no checks and balances. Absolutely not.
If you know how to work the system, you get
but
away
we
with
shouldn't,
a lot.
and that's what I'm saying. This country needs to really clamp down on that. I mean, you know, like seriously, you know, I don't know if the new laws. I just don't want to. It upsets me to talk about it because there are people that really are in need. I mean, seriously in need and are denied and yet these benefits are going to people that are driving Porsches and
Yep.
Rolls Royces, that are pulling up and getting their lovely EBT cards, and and there's nothing we can do about it. And I don't understand, why we're not taking a look at this. You want to talk about pissing away money, billions, and not having money for certain programs that should be around. I mean, that is a big cesspool that no one's addressing. And I'm not saying, I'm not a bigot. I'm also, just so you know, I'm not a bigot. I'm not saying it's, people that are of color. I'm not. I'm just saying that there are a lot of people that are working the system that are making it very difficult for people who deserve it and are not getting it.
That's true.
And I could go more, but then I'd sound like Archie Bunker.
Yeah, California, it has the highest Medi-Cal in all of the United States. It has the most. I mean, 40% is Medi-Cal. So it's pretty astounding, because what that does to our healthcare system is just horrible.
Yeah. And then, for example, for you, and okay, maybe I didn't understand it, so please correct me, but you're only allotted to charge X amount for a Medi-Cal person, right? Even though the hospitals and other stuff have a different rate. So you're losing money on those Medi-Cal patients. And so you're on this task force or this team or something that is trying to get those, and that's what I don't understand. It depletes the system. People like you that are actually offering the services to people in need in the Medi-Cal are being, like, you have to do it. Like, you're in the healthcare. What are you going to say? Oh, you're a Medi-Cal.
Yeah,
Screw
you
you?
can't-
No,
can't
you
pick and
cannot.
choose. You can't pick and choose who you take. And I guess why I'm so passionate about it is, it's just unfair. Like, I run a very family orientated business. Everybody who works for me, during orientation, I meet them the first day to talk to them. Every single one of my employees.
And how many employees do you have?
400.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, Melissa. If somebody is interested in getting into that field, is there some kind of a program or something that you offer, or an incentive, or like if one of the listeners thinks, boy, I'd like to become an EMS, what would be?
So for people who want to become caregivers and have a passion, you have to have a drive for wanting to take care of people. But you can go to EMT school, and we do EMT sponsorships. So I will help fund for EMT school for 1 year of employment. And I really try to encourage my employees to think beyond just being an EMT. I want them to have a career in healthcare, because everyone starts as an EMT, and I believe these are our future medical leaders. So I really try to encourage the staff that work with me, because I also have registered nurses that work for me, respiratory therapists, paramedics. So I always try to encourage them to be better, to want more, to be hungry. I also give paramedic sponsorships as well. So the criteria is you just have to be an EMT for 6 months. It doesn't necessarily have to be working for me for 6 months, but I just want you to know that this is what you want to do. And then I will sponsor an employee to go to paramedic school.
Wow.
What I love is when I first heard, so-and-so is coming in to talk about healthcare, and then I looked you up, like, you could go as business, the business side of it. I'm a company, I provide ambulatory service. But you talk about it from the healthcare aspect of it. You really see it as health, not just a business, like a taxi company. And I love that. When you started out with this, it seems like it could have sounded like it was a business, like, oh yeah, they're in need to take, transport, like a transportation service. When did it become for you healthcare?
I really don't know exactly. Of course, initially it's a business and you're learning everything, but I absolutely love what I do.
From the get-go.
And the employees that work for me have really inspired me to be better. I mean, they, being an EMT is extremely difficult. They work 24, 48-hour shifts, sometimes 72 hours. I have bunk beds, they sleep there. And whenever, it's not like this job where you have a specific time and you're off.
Yeah.
You know, when an emergency call, they never get off on time, so you can't really plan for it. They miss holidays, they miss birthdays. And so I admire the amount of
Dedication.
dedication
love, really.
and just that they love what they do. And even if the pay is not that great, and how could it be when 40% of all of my transports are Medi-Cal, which are below my cost? I mean, how can I compete with McDonald's?
Right.
You know, McDonald's pays more than what I could pay, and it
Yep.
really breaks my heart. And so that's why I spend so much of my free time to try to advocate to make the system better.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's that whole thing between public and private. Like, the guys that work for me are paramedics. The guys who work for fire are paramedics, but why should a public agency be paid so much more than my employee? They went to the same schooling, and my employee can treat their employee, you know, in a fire. So it's just the inequity. And if there's one thing that I want to do, is I really want to be able to have made a difference in this industry.
But see, that's what I like about you is they, like in your thing, they may be paid less, but you're giving them, like, you're picking up opportunities for them to make them grow.
Yes.
You know, and giving them the opportunity. I mean, okay, I watch Rescue 911, just FYI. I love that show. I love that show. But you can really see, okay, that, you know, you can see the inner workings of, like, the EMS people or the EMT people. I mean, it is like one of the characters. I work in TV, so everything's always going to be TV oriented. But one of the characters, like, she was going to leave and go to law school. You know what I mean? I mean, not law school. She was going to, Roxane, I told you to turn the phone off.
I did. You didn't have the phone. You usually know how to do it for me.
Oh my God.
Here,
Here, okay, technical here. But I mean, you know, but like, for example, the EM person that works with them, right? She went to, here you go, Rox. She was going to go to medical school because, you know, she had gotten all this great training there, and now she wanted a better career, and she was passionate about it. So, you know, sometimes, and that's what I hear a lot about the healthcare field, is, you know, private doctors and private this and private that, they make a shit ton of money, okay? Because they don't have any scale that they have to fit in. You know, I've been to therapists that are like, you know, $500-600 an hour, and then I've been to ones that are $200 an hour. And I got to tell you, you know, the ones that are $200 an hour, quite frankly, they're better therapists because they're not pulling it in. It's not easy. So they're more passionate about it. And that's what I'm saying about you is, you know, it doesn't matter how much you're paying. You're giving people an opportunity to sort of grow, hone a craft, and then move forward. And it doesn't, and that's what pisses me off about that whole Medi-Cal bullshit, is because of that, you can't compete to, you know, pay people what they're worth.
Yes.
What is your company more of, do you think, and maybe you shouldn't say, but no, but they know, they work for you. Is it a lot of turnover in a good way, or is it a lot of retention, people stay with you?
So typically in any ambulance company, not just mine, so I speak on behalf of California, what I know, you get a 30% turnover. So people come into EMS, they want to go into the till they get picked up by PD, or they want to go to fire, or they're waiting to go into med school. So it's just like a 30% revolving.
That's lower than I expected you to say, actually.
But during COVID, it has been insane. And so right now the EMS has a shortage all over that we've
because
never
of
seen
burnout
before.
or because of demand?
I mean, there were so many reasons. It was just like the perfect storm.
At all the healthcare industry, I mean,
It was-
hospital staff, I mean, they're low on nurses. I mean, since COVID that all has, you know,
In coaching, as a life coach, I was so surprised 2 years ago now, no, maybe a year and a half ago, when a doctor did not know if she wanted to stay. As we worked through it, yes, this is her purpose, and she wants to stay. And she was thinking of getting into research, and it was all the mental burnout.
Yeah.
She really felt like the world hated doctors all of a sudden. They hated emergency people, and they didn't trust them, and it was really bad. And she's like, it's not just me. So many professionals,
Yeah.
from the highest surgeons to the nurses, just felt like these people don't trust us, or they don't like us, or they're blaming us, and they were just burnt out mentally.
well,
So,
they were
yeah.
overworked during the,
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
during that
for-
time, and
Yeah, for
Underappreciated.
ambulance, I guess it's more difficult. I
Yeah.
think that people don't think about ambulance workers. So ambulance workers, they're not confined to an office, right? They're picking up patients. They're either posting on the street, waiting for a call, or at a hospital. So they're always in their car. And if you can imagine how COVID was, so they were busy call after call in these crazy waiting rooms, with plastic everywhere outside,
And they were at
because
higher
people
risk,
had
too.
COVID. But forget about that. Let's talk about basic things like food. Previously, hospitals always, it's a known thing, they always feed EMTs. When you come in, every hospital has places where they feed EMTs. During COVID, they were trying to not spread COVID. So you couldn't eat at the hospitals anymore.
Oh.
So then people would go to 7-Eleven, where there's a known rule. If you're a first responder, you could go into a 7-Eleven and you could bring your lunch and microwave your food. You don't have to buy your lunch at 7-Eleven. And these are young kids that aren't making, enough money. So during COVID, they weren't even able to microwave their food. So for me, just the burnout,
They were banned. They were told they couldn't.
well, because you couldn't walk in because of COVID. And so it was so difficult to work in that environment. You wouldn't eat all day. You're not getting
the
proper
morale was
breaks.
down. and-
The
Yeah.
morale, you get a lot of people just, not wanting to be in this profession anymore. And then I don't want to get too political in
Get political.
vaccines, but, when they had the vaccine mandate, I mean, we lost so many people, and it was so terrible. And it's been challenging. I mean, for 2 years, schools were closed, EMT schools. So when you have every year 30% leaving, so now you're down to 60%. And then of your small workforce you have, all of a sudden there's this new demand for COVID clinics everywhere. And they're taking our workforce. And so now we have more businesses taking our workforce, and then hospitals are short. So now they're using EMTs that they've never used before because they can't have staff. And we haven't had any new graduates. All of the pool dried up. And when the EMT schools finally opened, they couldn't get their clinicals. So the industry is extremely suffering because it wasn't like nursing where you could have people, travel nurses. It's not like that in
Yeah.
EMS. So we've really never seen such an insane shortage like there is now.
Where do you mostly recruit?
Where do I
What's
recruit?
your source for recruiting?
I mainly do all the recruiting myself. I go to EMT schools and I talk to the kids, and we have a referral bonus program. And I'm really close with my employees. Like, they either call me TMZ because I'm like a proud mom. I'm always taking pictures of all of them. They're like, she's coming around. She has a camera. And or I get called snack mom. So I go grocery shopping for them every week. So I want to, since they're at the station for so many hours, they're sometimes 48 hours, 72 hours. I want everything at the station to be extremely comfortable for them. So
and accessible. Yeah.
their lounge looks, it's my old couch that I used to have. I mean, it's furnished to like the T. I mean, it's
Homey.
everything's like, Z Gallery. I mean, very, very nice. And so I do regular shopping for them. I know which people want chicken dinosaurs, which ones want Hot Pockets. They text me, and I like doing it. They're young kids, and so it makes me happy to be able to give back.
Do you ever recruit like well, high schools? They're too young, right?
They're
seniors.
too young. I mean, when I was really young,
Yeah.
and I didn't know better, I'll say it on the air. So when I was 25 years old and I needed to get more employees, I would put on an Abercrombie jean skirt and have a supervisor drive me to a hospital, and I would stand at the ER, not when they had the patients, but when they were, coming out. I would hand them, flyers, and I would recruit them. and I would clean out stations.
Well, you said it's a 30% turnover, so you have 70% retention that stay with you. How long do people normally work for you?
I actually have my employees actually have worked for me for a very long time. My retention is pretty good, and I get really excited. Like if they leave me, it's because they're going to do something better.
How does somebody get if somebody wants to get into this industry, what can you recommend for them? How do they start? Where do they go? Who do they call?
Well, there's many.
Can they call
There's
AmbuServe?
many if they're not an EMT. Well, we get people calling all the time that they want to work for me, but they're not an EMT. They see us on social media.
But then they can go to school.
They could go to school.
So if they call you and say, "Hey, I'm interested in,"
so you could go to there's accelerated programs that are like 8 weeks. You can go to one for 12 weeks. You can go to a whole semester in a college. They're pretty hard. It's extremely hard.
It's medicine.
A lot of my students do not pass the first time. I would like to develop something to kind of. I don't know if because of the online education just in general that people are having more struggle now with school.
Could be.
But we're seeing barely any. Like if I go and speak to an entire EMT class, at least half of them aren't going to graduate. And so I realize that there's that void. So I'm in the very early stages, but my goal would be to maybe take on some of those students and mentor them and have like a Saturday class for them where they could get skills and hands-on,
like practical.
Maybe in exchange for working for me for a year once they get their EMT license. I haven't thought of the whole thing, but there is a problem and someone needs to address it because they're not passing and we need more staff.
But it sounds like if you had this practical, like she said, you practiced, but also they buddied up and helped each other study. Because people are so isolated now. They don't study anymore together.
Study groups.
Yeah,
I remember.
And people need more. You need more. So a lot of people are not good. They have to touch it.
Yep.
They have to see it.
Hands-on.
I'm a hands-on.
And so I think that it would be beneficial. Sometimes if you're studying something, you don't understand it until you see it. And then when you see it, it all fits and it makes sense. So I think that a lot of the kids are visual learners and they've been I don't want to say handicapped, but I think they're struggling a little bit more from all the online schooling they previously had, and they're just at all the EMT schools they're having difficulty.
I just had to do the basic CPR AED. And we had to do it online because of COVID. I'm like, this is not the same as when I had that dummy and I weigh 90 pounds and I was like, boom, boom. It's like if this were real, I would really have to put all my body weight and I would have to learn how to do it. It's not the same as like the check on the computer. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And the thing is, it's unfortunate because these kids now, that's really all they rely on is this computer thing. Some by choice and some it's just the way it is. I mean, I remember when I went to law school, you go to law school, but my favorite part was like moot court because you actually get up there and you actually plead a case. Granted, it's not a real case, but it's practical, as opposed to watching someone on TV or watching, okay. It's just great to just get in there and do it, but it's really hard. Yeah. It is really hard. And the medical field, I don't know. Are they doing, is medical school? I guess medical school is still, I guess in some parts of the country, I think it's still online. I think any school is still online, right? Or no?
I think they have the option. They have the option of going hybrid or going in person. But the culture, it's just different. I have a lot of young kids that work for me. I mean, and I've had people that have worked for me for like 12 years that started with me when they were 18. And I'm getting so old because some of their kids now are starting to work for me. But
she's so old.
She does. She's had her kids work for her. Her sisters work for her.
You have 2 kids, right?
I have 2 kids.
How old are your kids?
My son is 19 and my daughter's 22.
And are either of them sort of moving in at all the healthcare field?
So my son is a dispatcher for me. He would like to be an EMT, and then he's going to go on. He would like to become a paramedic.
Wonderful.
And then possibly be a nurse, and he would like to come run my company with me one day.
Nice. And your daughter?
My daughter wants to be an attorney.
No. Sorry. How old is she?
She's 22.
She
graduated. She has her bachelor's, and she is studying to take her LSAT. And
she's going to take the here in California.
Yeah,
I mean, I know all LSATs.
And then
the same,
she is going to. She's going to go to law school.
Go to UCLA. That's my alma mater.
So I'm going to talk about ageism now. I'm 57. And I turned into a life coach a year and a half ago, and I went and got certified. Before then, I was a personal trainer. Before then, I was in PR. Before then, I was a journalist. So, I coach a lot of women in career change. What about people entering your field in their 40s and 50s?
As an EMT?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's hard. You have to, physically, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, they are lifting patients every day, the bending. I mean, it's a hard job. And especially
a lot of physical for somebody older. I don't think
I mean,
hold on,
they were
wait,
personal
wait,
trainer
wait
when
a
I
minute.
was 46.
Wait
and
a
I had
minute.
to
Yeah.
lift a person.
Let's not sit here.
No, I have a paramedic who just turned 70 that works for me.
Holy moly.
And
Is it a guy?
It's a guy.
Yeah.
It's a guy. So
Oh,
I
there's room
do
for
have
me.
older, but I mean to start I guess you can.
It
I mean,
all
at any
depends
age you
on.
can.
I think it all depends on how the body is the temple, and if you take care of this temple, there are people. We were just talking. There are people at dinner. There are people that are 70 and they look 80. There are people that are 70 that look younger because they work out. They put things in their body. I think if people can do it, you're not going to say no.
Yeah.
No, of course
Of
not.
course.
I love that growth mindset because people are afraid of, well, they're going to look at me and look at my age and I don't have a chance. Like, it depends. Can you do it? If you think you can do it, then go for it. But what I think are holding, especially women back, no, men too, is that they already think, well, companies won't even consider me because of my age. It's like, well, let's turn your experience and your capabilities into the possibility.
Well, I think if ever you were going to switch your career, now would be the time to do it because there are so many different job opportunities everywhere, and maybe now it's a buyer's market. I mean, maybe you'd be able to get a job at a higher wage that you may have not been qualified for. I just think that everybody's looking for good talent, and if you have drive and passion, I feel like you could do anything. So I think you could start.
I have my next career after I finish with my WeHo Wags, the dogs. I am going to become a greeter at Walmart.
There you go.
You know what? I gotta hold on. Attention, Walmart shoppers. Okay, this woman will go to Walmart. She'll make her whatever $300-400 a week. Walmart hire her because she'll give it right to you back. So she'll be, you're paying her to give you money.
People think I work there. People ask me, "Can you tell me where?"
Well, first of all, you talk to everybody.
I do.
And you go to Walmart and you know every aisle in every city you've been in, so you look like that kind of person. And it's like, oh, yeah, it's in the other aisle
I
over
want to
there.
be a greeter. I saw a couple in Walmarts, and they were like greeters, and I thought, wow, I can retire when I do. I tried to retire, but I couldn't. And
No, hold on. You tried to retire. You choose your words. You tried to retire, but you couldn't. You tried to you tried to retire, can't even speak English, but you wouldn't because you are passionate, Roxane, about what you do.
I know, but I'm saying it wasn't like I tried to start a business. It just the people that are my clients on my street.
She's the
whatever
crazy dog lady,
Yes,
by the way.
I am.
Crazy dog lady.
I'm the one walking 12 dogs at a time, and I have to have this one come and help me.
That's
So
funny.
there we go.
I am a good
Have
intern.
Have you gone out with your EMTs, and have you been to the fires in those situations as well to see what it's like?
So yes, so I sometimes will just like go, when they're doing like 911 calls, we'll drive with a supervisor car and I'll follow them because it does make me really proud to see them doing that. But one time, the most memorable thing that was extremely touching for me was a hospital that I work with called me, and there was a patient who had been in the hospital ready to be discharged for 2 days, and he couldn't get transportation. Now,
Can you explain that? Because we were having dinner and explain, like, because we all think, okay, I'm better, I can go home. But you were telling me it's called wall?
Oh no, but I can tell you that.
Yeah,
but
explain
I wasn't
that
talking
after.
About, okay, I'll explain that. So what happened
This was for a different reason.
The hospital contacted me and said they needed help. They needed to get this patient out. He'd been ready for 48 hours, completely bed confined, and the patient was over 800 pounds.
Oy.
And so they called every single vendor. He had an insurance. The insurance company called every single contract, and they couldn't do anything. And I really don't like to take bariatric calls because they're dangerous for my staff. It's okay when it's going from facility to facility, but when you're going to private residence, you don't know what the residence looks like. If the bariatric gurney is going to fit, through the doorway, through the hallway, it's just very complicated, or the steps. And so the nurse knew that I'm a softie and puts the patient on speaker, and the patient goes, "I heard you're the owner. Can you get me home?" And of course I felt bad. So I really felt bad. So I talked to my managers, and I'm like, well, what can we do? And so we went down to this place. I believe it was in Compton, and to see what it would look like, and if the bariatric would fit, and it wouldn't because there were steps. So then we went to Home Depot, got cinder blocks by mechanics, made a ramp for the guy. So we're working outside. I mean, I'm not, my employees are working. And then we did a test run, and we had, oh my gosh, I think we had 8 or 9 people.
Wow.
And we did a test run to make sure that everything would go smoothly. And then when we knew it would go smoothly, we went to go pick up the patient in the hospital. And we had to there were 3 ambulances and a supervisor, because each ambulance has 2, but you needed that much manpower. If you could imagine, the gurney weighs like 500 something pounds, and then you put that on it,
800 on
it's
it.
over a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
And so what was so cool about this is I had 3 managers were there, and I had a woman supervisor that has been with me, oh my gosh, for more than a decade, and I'm just crazy about her. She's going to nursing school, and to see her, she was commanding like my managers, like what to do, and to see her in action with something so complicated. And I mean, to me, that was so touching. That was probably one of like the best moments ever, was to get that guy inside his house. But it was so sad, like when we dropped him off, I mean, he just was laying on his stomach and he couldn't move, and he was so huge. I mean, it was just shocking, and you think like, how could someone live like this? But that's why I'm so, like, my employees, it's a certain you have to be a caregiver.
Yeah.
You have to be
Can't the
compassionate.
city, like, somebody
have-
come in and
Well, so we asked for fire for public assist
Yeah.
to help us because we had to make our own ramp. Like,
no, but
if
I'm
I
saying
didn't have a
somebody to come
mechanic
and
show-
help him to lose that weight. Isn't there?
They had like there was a house manager there, so it was some sort of facility where like multiple patients lived there, but it was a house.
Yeah, they do that
And
now.
it was, I mean, he was inside the living room, and there was a kitchen to the right, and there were mattresses like up, like making a wall to make him a room. And I mean, the condition was just, and I was shocked.
Wow.
And my employees are so used to seeing this all of the time. Like when we were doing that run, there was a guy outside who was getting arrested at the same building. There was Child Protective Services there.
Oh,
I mean, it was there were dogs, and but my employees were just, they're just used to it.
See it every day.
And I was shocked. I was, and I'm from LA, but I'd never seen anything like this before. So
So I see the fulfillment in your eyes as well as the sympathy, like the downside of it, but the uplifting side of it.
Yeah,
like
no,
your team
I'm
did
proud.
great, but then you
but
feel bad for
but
the
you
patient.
Think, but you know what? I think if it
compassion.
was only, okay, my opinion on life, if you're constantly like down, down, down and see negative, 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 there is no hope. I'm that stupid Pollyanna where there's always you have to have hope. So I think you have to have the balance of that and the positive, to get that passion like you have, because you've seen everything's at their worst, but you've seen these amazing, it's not you've seen, you have moderated circumstances where things are maybe not good, like in this case, but you, softy that you are, but you managed to do from something that could be a negative, you made it a positive.
Yeah, you helped
you
him.
made
You know
it
what I mean?
You
possible.
gave
So
him what he wanted.
you have to have, I
Yeah.
think, to keep that drive that you have and that passion, because you are an empathetic person. I don't even like to say sympathetic, because I think sympathy, compassion, I think empathy and compassion is what you have. And I think that's why you've been successful, because you put your heart is in it. I kind of hear, what even you do for your grandma. And like you're just a shining star there. And I think maybe, and that's family. But I also, with these stories now, feel and hear that it's anybody that you would still go to the line for, to make comfortable and to have them get the best care in what you are capable of doing. And that is really important. And I think a lot of times people create a business, and I think it's how much money you make. And I think that is where, unfortunately, a lot of the focus is. And I see with you, we all want to make money. We all want to make money. But I think, especially in the healthcare field, I think making money is great. But I could see that that's not your main mission.
No, I feel, I'm older now, and
Tell them about the
I'm-
mural that
I'm
you painted,
com-
had it painted for them.
yeah, I'm comfortable, but I think that now you just have to pay it forward. I mean, there are shining stars that I remember in my career when, things weren't that great, and I didn't know how I was going to make payroll, and
But
someone
why did you stay in?
helped
Why
me.
didn't you say, why didn't you, when things weren't great, why didn't you just sit there and go, oh, the heck with this, I'm going to pivot?
Why did you work for somebody?
Yeah. Why did you stay in?
Because I don't know any better. I mean, I've just,
I think you're selling yourself short.
I don't know. I'm not a quitter. I'm extremely competitive. If you tell me I can't do something, I'm gonna find a way to do it. And
And see, when I hear I don't know any better, to me that doesn't mean that you're dumb. It means like I don't know any better than this.
Right.
I can do this.
right.
But tell them about
Yeah.
the mural. She had it for
Oh
real
yeah,
quick, 'cause
for
No, don't Don't worry about it. I take it. I rule the time.
So she's talking about a mural. So because COVID had been so challenging. I mean, it's been really challenging on my staff, just all together, been just terrible for them. And I could talk about the wall time. So what you were saying before I get onto the murals. So currently, even now, when COVID is supposedly over, I don't know if it is over. That could be another topic for you. But there's definitely a shortage in hospital staff. And so when my staff are go to deliver patients in a hospital ER, they're often told that there's no bed available. And that's not really that there's no bed available. It's the staff ratio to patient. And so my guys are there often holding the wall, which they call for like 4 or 5 hours. And it's just exhausting over and over you doing that.
You mean they keep them in the ambulance, or they keep them
Outside.
They're standing.
They're in the gurney.
You know, they're
can't go in.
babysitting the patient.
Wow.
Because the hospital can't,
Receive 'em.
can't
Yeah.
receive the patient.
They can't even
And,
go in the hospital.
So I wanted to pay a tribute to them. And so I'm originally from LA, and my main corporate office is in Gardena. And so I got a pretty famous graffiti artist, Jules Muck, to paint a whole mural on the entire block of all like EMS. Like, it's
Oh,
pretty
wow.
cool. We have
Yeah.
like a girl with like
Oh, is
a
that
braid.
it?
Oh, that is one of them. Yes, that is one of them. So I wanted it to represent a girl, and I really didn't want there to be a face, because it doesn't matter what the face looks like. I just wanted the resemblance. And so what's really cool is that's one of my supervisors below. And so when I saw her hair one day, I was like, I want to paint a mural, and I want the hair to be just like yours. We had to take a picture of her with it once it was done.
Cool.
But the mayor, was it the mayor of Gardena?
The
or-
mayor of Gardena, the Chamber of Commerce gave us the blessing, and so it's great because we were getting graffitied on all the time,
Use
and
it.
so
Yeah.
now we're not.
Right.
So thank you,
And
Jules.
isn't there isn't there a a senior home right across the street? I thought you said that they were going to watch the place to make
Oh,
sure.
not as there's what are they called?
Trailer parks. Or,
No.
Okay.
No, they're mobile, not mobile,
Mobile
homes,
parks.
It's a prefabs?
but no,
No.
you know, like
Bungalows.
Trailer parks.
trailers.
Mobile home parks.
Mobile home
Trailers.
parks.
Yeah.
Trailers.
Yeah.
Is that what
Yes.
they're called?
Mobile home parks is the politically correct
Yes.
They're
term.
not parks.
But
they're
mobile
on
homes.
the street.
Oh, wait a minute.
Communities.
They're on the. What do you mean they're on the street?
Okay, so Gardena, is typically
the Winnebagos on the side.
that's what they're called. So Gardena's industrial.
Uh-huh.
So even though it may have not been like the best area, it was pretty safe because it was always industrial.
Right.
But because of COVID, we have gotten so many Winnebagos. Is that what you called?
RVs.
Yeah.
RVs.
Oh,
RVs,
RVs.
hello.
Oh, hello.
Now
Recreational
after we can't
vehicles.
find out what it is.
RVs, recreational vehicles. I got one of those.
She owns
There you
it,
go.
and she
There's a
couldn't
10.
figure this shit out.
And
okay.
a lot of people park their RVs where? Walmarts.
Love my
And
love that
under
store.
every freeway.
Oh, there we go. The RVs.
Yeah, it's terrible. We have, I mean, yeah, we have neighbors across the street, but they said they're going to protect them. We beautified their wall. I mean, they have the
Absolutely.
sunset now. They look at it from their window.
They open their window. They
got new scenery.
That's another beautiful day here in sunny Gardena.
Did your son tell you why he wants to run the business with you and why he wants to get into that?
Well, I was always pretty much a single mom, so I always brought the kids to work. So they've grown up with mom having an ambulance company, and my son loves video games, and dispatch is just, it's really crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you have radio traffic, you have several monitors, you have to monitor the vehicles, the calls. I mean, it's loud. I mean, it's crazy. It's super busy. You have employees calling you, pagers and radios and telephones, and he thrives in that type of environment.
Hand to eye contact. He's used to it.
Yeah.
And his real goal that he wants to be a nurse, but I want him to experience every position so that if he's truly wanting to run this with me one day, I want him to know what it's like to be in every position. So even if it takes him longer, because some people may say, well, why don't you just go straight into nursing school? But I want him to be well-rounded. And I also feel that some people go into nursing school and do they really like nursing? I mean, I've had people that have 2 shifts after being a paramedic, and they're like, this is not for me. So I really try to, I don't treat my son differently. I try to mentor the kids, and I want them to experience, you know, each step. Make sure you're into it, because, I mean, I know you could at any time change your career, but I feel like you have to find in your life what gives you purpose and
What's
what gives you drive.
fulfilling.
If
What is
you're going to be
fulfilling.
good at something,
Yeah.
you got to own it, and you have to love what you do.
Are
Absolutely.
you also having him go through the business side, the accounting and all that?
No, he probably needs that.
Roxane can tutor him.
I'm not as good as
Grandma
my dad was
Evelyn
with me.
can, back in the day, sit down with that paper and,
Oh,
and
Please.
yeah. No calculators.
Come on. I thought accounting was going to be easy in college. I said, I'll just take accounting. My mother's one. She'll help me. I was in, you know, like you get a certain period of time in college before you can withdraw, you know, and it's not like you don't get screwed. I mean, I sat there and I can't tell you how many pencils my mother broke because she was like, how do you not see that's the way it's done? The balance sheets. And it really.
Balance. That's a nice word. How you guys talk to me. Oh, Roxane, you're all about checks and balances now. Always.
Yeah.
She knows every penny, where it is, what it's doing.
I'm just
yeah.
You're good?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
used to not be.
Yeah, well,
She got better. She has her own business. I know all about checks. I do nothing about balance. I mean, I don't even balance my checkbook. When I have to pay bills, I look at the thing and go, yeah, I got
don't
enough.
balance I mean, business, yes, but personal, no.
Now for work, I mean, I have to do budgets. And we
Yes.
do, 100, 200, 300,000 budgets.
But you're
sometimes
the
for photo.
macro of it. You see the macro.
Well, I'm the
organization.
producer.
Yeah.
I'm the producer, but I'm still responsible
Yeah.
for my budgets.
That you hire somebody.
No, I can't. I just learned how to pad.
Yeah.
You know, how to pad properly. So when I pad it and I'm, 50,000 under budget, I look like a star. But I pad it also to cover my butt because I never know. We're sitting there and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, this looks good. No. And I have to like call
Change.
someone and we have to bill a whole scaffolding set and there goes $30,000-$40,000 easy.
That's how I run a budget. I round up. I'm always rounding up. I would love to ask you now a little bit, if Gaye Ann doesn't mind.
You talk
about
too
your
much.
Personal life.
Oh, okay.
Gaye Ann shares about her personal life, and that's when we love this show, when she really does. What
She
do you
has a
love to do
personal
for
life?
fun and in personal?
I have
What
stories.
do I love to do? So
Outside of work.
outside of work. So I'm obsessed about working out. I work out probably 6 days a week.
She likes it. I mean, you like it.
I like it.
I like it too.
I mean,
It's good for your mind.
I would be not a nice person. I feel like it makes me nicer. In the ambulance
so
business,
before you call me, I'm going to make sure you go to the gym
it's
before you
very
call me.
it's
next time.
very stressful. I mean, it's 24 hours, 7 days a week. I always have my phone on me. So working out is the only time where I don't take my phone, and it's the only time where I can just
Disconnect.
stop. And so
hear
I
ya.
feel a lot better. I go hiking. I'm married. I go hiking with my husband a lot. And next week we're going snowboarding, so I like to snowboard.
Yay.
But
There's lots of great hiking in the Palisades and
Oh,
Topanga and all those areas.
yes.
Yeah.
I go hiking. But I try to hit 14,000 steps a day is what I try, aside from working out.
Really?
So
Wow.
I know
That's
I
a
try.
lot. 14,000.
But I
steps.
put my AirPods on and I take meetings while I'm walking.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you just shift from left to right, that counts as a step, I found out. from The Biggest Loser. If you just shift, no,
That I didn't know.
you shift left to right. And the reason I know this because I read about it because this lady who was on The Biggest Loser, I never watched that show, but she kept getting all her steps really higher than everybody else. Like, it's not like she goes walking more than everybody else, but when you see her standing, she was always shifting,
But
and
did
that
she
counts
lose
as a step.
But did she lose any weight?
Yeah.
Oh, but
I have
she
a
did
friend of
it.
mine who has like the shaky leg syndrome, so that's how he gets his steps in. He's like,
Yeah, it's like
always
cheating.
shaking, and he'd put the band around his foot.
Oh God.
Oh, that's
Todd did that,
retarded.
and
Todd?
he would just, the leg would just go all day long.
But walking is probably one of the best
Oh, yes,
exercises
it is.
you can.
all
much
around.
better than running.
But I
or-
totally hear you because people wonder, you really do work out 6 days a week. I'm like, to me, it's not a chore. It's part of my life. It's just is. It's like brushing your teeth. If I don't, it's not good for my psyche. It's just like part of my self-care. It's just part of my day.
And
I go
can't-
crazy if I don't work out that day. And it doesn't have to be an hour. It can be 10 minutes. It can be 30 minutes.
So I'm really good. I schedule my workouts
Yeah, me
on
too.
my calendar. And so if you look at my calendar, you'll see all my meetings. And so to the best that I can do, I actually will schedule appointments around my workout schedule. So my
there you go.
workout comes first, but obviously there's times where that's impossible, but I do try.
Do you
Yeah.
prefer to do it? Is it like consistent? Is it like in
Every
the
morning.
mornings? Every morning. So
Every
like, what
morning.
time do you get up?
Well, now I'm getting up early, like super, like crazy early, like at 4 in the morning.
That
for
is
no
crazy. That's
reason.
over
Yo,
hours.
No, I've been doing the same. I've been doing the
Ever
same
since the
thing
time
ever since the
change.
time change.
I wasn't doing that
Wow.
before, and I feel so old. Like just because because that's like something that an old person. would
No,
do, where
stop
I
it.
wake up at
You
4.
just better. You stop.
I'm doing
no,
it
I don't
at
care.
my age.
You do not put dispersions to old people because you got 3 of them at this table. So let me say something. Number one, I will.
True though.
It's bullshit. If 4 o'clock, I get up between 4 and 5.
It's terrible.
What time do you go to bed?
Well,
Go ahead.
I could go to sleep really early.
No, what time do you go to bed? What time do you get tired and go to bed?
Wow, we're getting
Well,
personal.
I wanna lie in bed by 9.
Huh. This old lady gets up at 4 and doesn't go to bed till 2, have all this energy, and I still can do it. So stop saying old people go to bed early.
I don't know.
That's not true.
Okay. Okay.
It is
Then,
true that
then
you
I
look-
have other problems.
Yes, you do.
But it is true that you
I
start
am-
waking up naturally earlier.
I
no matter
don't-
And they
what.
do
I don't
say though,
like
as
it.
you get older, you need less sleep. You require
Yeah.
less sleep.
Yeah, but I've always had. But you know, I mean, you've known me for a while. I mean, I have.
You just have a lot of energy.
I have
anyway.
ADHD. I actually do.
Again, you need to sleep.
I
She
don't.
calls me in the morning and or I
You
like
sleep late.
and
Yes.
I'm like,
She
oh my
sleeps
god,
really
no,
late.
I don't. I'm
She
up
goes
at
to-
like 6.
Oh,
By 6:15.
right.
No. The dogs wake me up. They need to eat by
I've called you at
6:30.
8, and you're like,
Well, then I go back in bed.
That that is bullshit. She wakes up because of the dogs. Then she goes back to bed. So when I call her at 8:30, 9 o'clock, why you call me so early? Blah, blah, blah. And how much coffee do you have? I'm like, I've been up since 4:30, 5 o'clock.
I
What do
hate
you
that.
think?
Now, I'm just curious. Do you also advocate or do anything to help your people who work for you to have time to go to the gym or work out on their downtime? Or do you have any programs or do you help them with this? Like
No, am I
self-care people.
terrible?
So
sleep
hold on.
and
How
work
big
out.
is your
Put
facility?
that on your calendar of
How
things to
big
do.
is your facility? Because you say you have a nice break room and you buy food.
You have a gym room?
It's huge. It's big.
Is there? I mean, like, is there something that you would? Do they care about the gym, or they're just so
They don't have
exhausted?
time. They don't have time.
Wow, but they need
I
to.
mean, when they do when they're doing a 24-hour shift,
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have time. I mean,
But-
you're not going to have at one of my stations we do have weights that the guys there, or also girls, they lift weights, but
Well, that's cool.
I mean,
But what's like legally? Like, what's the law to like if someone allowed to work 24 hours, or
Yeah.
do they have to take certain breaks, or how
so
does that work?
there's, so people that work for me, we have a 24-hour agreement
Uh-huh.
that the employee and myself agree to, and we try to our best ability give them 8 hours of sleep during the last 8 hours of their shift, but that almost never happens. They get interrupted many times.
But do they get breaks during the day? And
When possible, I mean, we attempt to give them 10 minutes every 4 hours, and then we give them, their meal periods, but they have on-duty meal periods because at any time they can get
call.
interrupted.
Is there a time when they don't get a call?
I mean, it's just random. I mean, you just never
Just don't know.
never know. I mean, in the waves, and a lot of ambulance companies have been going out of business and can't get staff. So there's so much work, So it's like, even we turn down a ton of calls a day. I only
Do you refer them when you turn them down? Do you
No.
refer them to someone else? Oh, wow.
no.
I have a question. Is this because of COVID? Like before COVID, were you fully staffed and able to handle?
Oh yeah, I had a lot more employees.
So this is just because
I had a lot.
effect of COVID that what was the norm can't be the norm because you're understaffed.
You're understaffed and the hospital's understaffed. So we, as an ambulance company, need to be double staffed in order to compensate. We all work together. So what happens when you have patients that are going into the ER by ambulance, and you have patients that are leaving the ER by ambulance. You have patients that are going into the con home, and so the ER is always trying to make a bed available. And when you don't have enough staff, it's just it's very difficult.
So literally, your people can actually deliver someone to ER, but then no break because they
6 hours. They could be waiting there 6 hours.
because they have
So that's why, for me, at the bare minimum, I go food shopping.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know any other company that does, an ambulance company that is. But for me, it's important because I want them, as soon as they get back to station, put something quick in their mouth. And, because how nice are you when you're hungry? You know?
that's the thing also
So-
is your respect. They work for you,
Yes.
but you are taking care of them. You're by doing little things like that, which is huge. You're respecting them. You're honoring them. So they're going to be loyal. They're going to want to work for
I
you.
hope so.
Work for Melissa Harris, AmbuServe. She feeds you, and she does. She sends you to school. Do it.
Nurturing goes a long
Yeah,
way,
it
and that's
does.
what most people have been complaining about, that they're not validated, they're not thanked, and they're not nurtured. Not babied, but just nurtured.
And
Yeah,
you're
it's
doing
hard.
doing
Yeah.
it all right.
We hope so. I hope so. I try. I mean, I'm not going to make everybody.
Well, you're not a saint.
I'm
okay?
not going to make everybody happy, but I try. I really care for my staff. Unlike other owners, they don't know their names. I try to remember their names. I try to remember something personal about them, and I want them to be able to just talk to me. I don't want them to feel nervous. Like, I'll go into the office after the gym and I'll be in my leggings, and I'm okay. I'm okay with that, because I'm just personable. I don't have to be flaunting
The executive
or,
boss.
Or
you
scary.
know. No, I mean, I want a lot of them, I want the best for them, and they're young.
Yeah.
And so you change so much when you're young. You kind of don't. A lot of these kids have grown up working for me, so I get so excited. Even though I get sad when they leave, I do get excited if they're moving on to
Right.
something
They're
better.
learning something from you, and it's
You're, as you said, she's paying it forward.
Yeah.
So what do you see? What would you like your perspective to be, the future of AmbuServe?
What would be my perspective?
Where do you want to see your company going?
That's I don't know. I mean,
what aspirations? I mean, do you want to grow? Do you want to grow it bigger?
I mean, I'm comfortable at where I am. I don't have this growing desire to be, the biggest. I just want to be the best. And so,
the Gordon Ramsay of
I like even with my
ambulances.
customers that I get, I select which customers I want to work for. I'm fortunate enough that I could say no and yes to who I want to work with.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so I'm really comfortable with where I am. I just want to now, in my age, I just prefer to like sit on boards, volunteer my time, and give back to the community. Achievement wise, I don't feel that I have to achieve anything for myself, but I would like to do better by my staff.
So, question, in where you started to where you're now, do you believe this road that you took is personal growth? That it's made you a different person because of the experiences that you've had and the position that you're in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I hope that to all women, I could be a role model. And I mean, I don't know if this is the right thing to say, but like I have a lot of, women who work for me that are going to med school.
Yeah.
And so we sit down and we talk, and I'm like, well, where do you see yourself? What do you want to do? Do you want to have kids? Do you want to get married? I mean, these are important things because I believe you can't have it all. And I believe that when people say you can have it all, something is going to give.
Absolutely.
I know that, like, in my first marriage, I'm a workaholic, and possibly I was selfish and I should have given more to the marriage, but I didn't. I only had so much time between work and my kids, and that was what was important to me. So I always like to talk to young women to kind of see where you want to be. Money's a factor. You got to have drive, but money's a factor. So a lot of the girls that work for me, I convince them to be dermatologists because I want them to not be on call in the middle of the night. I don't want them to experience having to leave at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And a lot of people don't have these conversations of what it's like to be a mother, a wife who's on call. It's not fun. So can you enjoy what you do, help people, make a ton of money, if that's what gives you drive, and then also be able to be on that soccer field for your kid.
You can have it all, but in different ways.
In
different
different
forms,
ways,
like you said,
but
the
a lot-
dermatology.
But
Right.
it's all about, life is about balance, and
But it's harder for women
It
because
absolutely
there's
is.
more
Expectation.
expectation.
We have more to
that you have
balance.
to
Yep.
be-
We have more on
Yeah.
that scale.
No, it's given to guys. I don't care, men. I don't really care. If things are given to guys, we have to strive for it. We have to prove ourselves. This, we're. I mean,
But
I don't,
we're the caregivers.
But we're the caregivers.
So also, if you have children, you're going to be the primary caregiver no matter what, and then you're going to blossom in your career.
at some point. I mean, I was fortunate. I was very selfish. I mean, it's so funny because, I feel very akin to you. Your ideology, workaholic. I've lost relationships because of it. God, I never sit still. I'm always thinking. I'm always wanting to do stuff, and that's how I was driven from the time that I had my first job at the Woolworth at 16, because I've been working at 15, all the way up to now I'm 58, going to be 59 next month. It's, I'm at this company for 33 years. I've loved and lost, and not that it's fine. It's all a part of growth period, but I've always put my career, and I identified myself by my career instead of taking time to work on me. And I think now, you have to unlearn patterns of behavior, things that served you, maybe in the workforce doesn't serve you in life. And it really is a rewiring. And it's really hard not to change who I am, but it's hard to rewire certain things. I even talking to Roxane, I'll talk and she'll say, you could tell you're a producer, or things that I say, you don't have to speak so quickly, you don't have to do this. And it's not criticism, it is more like benefiting me. So to recognize that, I don't have to be on all day. I don't have to treat my friends or family, like, I'm in a boardroom and I'm the producer. I've got some control issues there. But I want to say thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming on the show. You are absolutely. There's a lot that I have to say. You are a mentor. You're a caregiver. You are just a really good person, and I appreciate not only what you're doing to giving the youth opportunities where maybe areas they never thought they'd have those opportunities. You're giving people growth. You're letting them believe in themselves, because not only are you giving them a job, but you're actually, as she said, you're nurturing them. You're building who they are, encouraging. You're giving them the building blocks to find out who they are and to succeed. And to that, I applaud you. And not too many people that I know that are in the position that you're in do that for anyone. It's usually themselves first and then whatever. You are extremely altruistic and upstanding, and I applaud you. And I can't pick up a body or any crap like that. Otherwise, I'd be looking to work for you at some point.
Aw.
But you are really an example. And I'm not saying this because, she's my bestie. And I'm saying it because I didn't really know anything about you. And I think you can also attest. I mean, I admire you. I admire you, what you're doing for the community. If anybody wants a job, they can reach out to you on AmbuServe.
You can go to ambuserveambulance.com.
And, and you'll take the calls.
Sure.
And will you like help them in the right direction?
Absolutely.
So-
if they're an EMT, come work for me.
She will take the calls except when she's working out.
Right, working
Correct.
out, no.
I
no.
sometimes
All
will, but I won't be
EMTs,
happy.
please call.
You should have a TED Talk,
Yeah.
a TEDx talk.
What is
Really?
that?
Oh, we have to talk.
Yeah.
You, we'll tell you off. I'll tell you offline. But I think a lot more women need to really do what you do. I think a lot of women don't, and I think a lot of women, because they're always clawing for the top to get noticed because it's such a male-oriented society. I think they let the empathy and the compassion go by the wayside to prove themselves. And you didn't just wake up overnight, you worked for it, and it was rocky in the beginning. But you stayed in it, and you're at the top of your game. And as you said, you're one of maybe the only one, if not a few, of women in your position. I think in any medical field. I won't even say, that's stuff to say, not only just what you do. So I think, with ladies out there, young ladies out there, if, you're a mom and you have a daughter, I'm not saying the boys can't do it, but I think we need to really support our children, especially our young women, to get into the workforce, to get into a nurturing society, to get into a nurturing culture like Melissa provides at AmbuServe. I think we need to get out there. We need to, keep pushing, and we need to make our voice heard. Because you know what, women should be running the country. And women are caregivers, and women, are nurturers, and this world would be a better place if we had more people like Melissa in it.
Yep.
So
thank you.
I want to thank you so much for joining us, and you're welcome to come back anytime. I know it's a drive from, where you come from, but you're welcome to come on. I mean, I've learned a lot from you. And I don't usually say that to a lot of people because I think I know it all. But I learned a lot from you. And, I respect you. I give you mad props and mad respect for what you've done, for the community that you're in, and for the business that you're in. So thank you. Anything coming up? Any like, are you doing anything? Any like events or anything, workshops, or do you do any, what's that thing called, recruitments or anything coming up?
We're going to, on Monday, I'll be at Santa Ana EMT College, recruiting EMT students to come join my team, come join my family of EMS.
Thank you. And Ronnie, what you up to?
Hi, I'm Ronnie Lowe, life coach. I'm a certified professional life coach, and I just want to say I love it when people also serve just by example, and you're a great example. And we do need more women in those boardrooms because that's where the decisions are made.
Absolutely.
So I love that you're you
Melissa
put
for
yourself in the
president.
advocacy.
Yeah, right.
In advocacy because
She needs to
everything is
be-
made behind those doors. They
Absolutely.
really are.
Yes.
But you can find me on LinkedIn is the best place, but I'm also on Instagram.
And Tony, I have to tell you, normally I complain because it's too cold. I am so schwitzing tonight. It's not even funny. I'm like sitting here going, I don't do hot flashes, but it's freaking hot tonight.
I know. I had to. Take
I'm like, I really am schwitzing. Roxane Harris, my
hey,
buddy.
hey! When are the latkes coming? Soon.
Soon, it's Hanukkah. I have brisket in your freezer ready to make, and you've got the machine, and I'm ready to make my latkes.
Anybody that needs their dog watched, you can give me a call, 323-578-7699, and we'll talk, and I do the same thing that Melissa does, except with dogs, not people.
She's the crazy dog lady. Hold on, I'm just, you know me. I have to look. Okay, so the next show is December 2nd. We have producer, director, writer, actor, entrepreneur Meredith Scott Lynn. She was supposed to be on this month, but she works. Well, I don't want to say what she works with, but she works with promoting education and in schools with these kids that are unfortunate. And I'll let her tell you the whole story. She did this whole thing, but she was out of town, so and she was snowed in somewhere. So she'll be here Friday, December 2nd. We are done. We will be done. That will be our Christmas show, our Hanukkah show, my birthday show.
Kwanzaa. What about Kwanzaa?
Kwanzaa. It'll be the whole big shebang. And I will say my speech then, but I just want to say thank you, each and every one of you, for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing on all platforms of media. Thank you for tuning in. We've been going strong since 2009, and it's because of you. And my big mouth and all the wonderful, amazing people that have come into my life that I want to expose you to. I really appreciate you being there. And have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Be safe, be well. Drive safely, please. And I will see you in December. And with that note, get it, Tony? Cue the song. Note. With that note, see you soon. And always, namaste.
Namaste.